put it in regular mode. So present, I'm getting there. Okay, presenter view, yeah. So I put in presenter view, there's another window that opens up and it's got all kinds of neat stuff behind it. And if I had two screens, which, you know, is another one of those things I'll fidget with one of these times, I'd be able to look at it and then have a full screen and you guys wouldn't have to see these tabs. Do you see my mouse?
Yep.
Okay, good. Yeah, you wouldn't see these tabs. And this is a real basic site, but if you scroll down, see, here's last week's. There you guys are. See, you made it. All right, yeah. And Cody, and welcome to Friday Flow. Today we're going to talk about how you figure out what your business flow is. Large reason for this is because I'm real curious about it. What's your business flow is the discussion, and I even have this animated. Look at that. Look, I am really getting very fancy. Okay, these are small things, but I'm happy about them. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this about less than 3 or so minutes. Sense of progress. Now, some people know what flow is, and some people haven't. How many of you have heard of the book by McGarry about flow? So we got Cody. Have you? Phil and Lisa are in no. No? Okay, good. Then I'm telling you something new, but I'm also encouraging you to read the book or listen to the book is what I usually like to do. I actually read this book, one of the few books I've actually read recently. I'm usually listening to them.
Only 2 books?
What's that?
Only 2 books?
I don't read much. It's not exactly my strength. They couldn't test me. Like, I've gotten tested for dyslexia, and apparently I'm too smart. So they couldn't catch me, but they said because I was supposed to so smart that apparently they can't catch me, and I probably have it. So, but I do have, they did catch me on dyslexia, or just dyscalculia, which is where you mix up numbers.
All right, not dyslexia rules KO.
No dyslexia KO?
No, dyslexia rules KO.
Gotcha. All right, that was very fancy. It's kind of like I talk to some of my clients and they're like, it's just like OCD. And I'm like, no, it's not. That's CDO alphabetically, like it should be. Okay, so in flow, thanks, Cody. So there's a couple things about flow that really make it distinguishable. One of the things is you have a sense of progress when you're doing it, okay? I kind of feel in a flow with this, this chat because as I'm doing it, I'm steadily making things better and feeling more professional, even though that's not terribly a big thing in my, I mean, I want to be professional, but I don't want to be stodgy. So the sense of progress, like I'm doing little bits and pieces every week and getting better and better at it. And also I'm having great guests like you guys coming on, which is actually the hugest part for me. And getting to talk with you during this time and help you build your networks as well. So sense of progress is something that you know you're kind of getting the flow. And to, again, describe what flow is it's the optimal, or the psychology of optimal experience. It means when you're most engaged. In fact, I'm going to take this brief moment to use my pen. I got this, I've had this for a while, but last time my computer broke down, I forgot to put the drivers in for it. So if anyone saw me present at 1 Million Cups last time, I tried to use it to kind of draw this chart that I'm about to do, and it was really sad. Okay, so let me see if I can find the tools here. I could open a whole nother thing, or I could just annotate right on here, which I think is what I'm going to do. Okay, annotate right on here. All right, so I'm going to make a box. So I got to select a box. Where did it go? Oh, draw. It's just under draw. It's one of those things under draw. So here is a graph. What's going to be a graph. And so on one side, we're going to have, these are going to be the challenges. Oops, can I write there? Oh, that's not, it's still a box. I got to change it to my pen. This is very clear. This is, so thank you for, the way place this is set up is not well, because then the other things. Okay. So these are challenges on this side, challenges, like writing sideways, challenge, and okay, that's the Y, right? And this is the x-axis. And so those are challenges, and these are your skills. And the thing is we often are trying to figure out how to connect, well, whether we're doing it consciously or not, we're trying to connect these two. And we often have some sort of attempt. So if we're balancing these two out really well, then right about in this, this spot right here is where we're gonna get our optimal like experience right here, because we have a high challenge and a high skill rate. If we're in these other places, like right over here, and I'm gonna use my text box now, if you're right here, then you're probably gonna feel anxiety, right? Because you're in a place, your challenge is high, but your skill doesn't really match it. And if you read on here, another thing happens, which is boredom. Okay, so what I'm looking for is finding out where you guys are, and if you have, when you get into feeling like you have flow. Do you see that as I'm typing it?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, I'm curious. Cool. So that's what flow is about. It's that's one of the things. And so another thing is, when you're feeling in flow, it's a sense of timelessness. Okay, so you often don't realize the time's passed, you know, time flies when you're having fun kind of thing. It's exactly what happens. Just yesterday, there was something that was going on. I was working at a location, and 3 hours had passed just like that. And I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize so much time had passed. So it meant I was in flow. I was really enjoying myself, and my challenges were matching my skill. Okay, now how do I click to make my next thing go? My challenge is a little high right now, and I don't have the skill to figure out how to get back. Stop annotating. I want to click. Annotate. If I push escape. Well, that took too much. All right, well, now I'm back onto that. So presenter mode. And hopefully this is all very educational for everybody else. These little mistakes I'm making. Okay, there we go, back to it. And then the advantage of all of that is that it's reinvigorating. So something that also reinvigorates you. And hopefully you guys have chosen to do that for your businesses. And that's a nice segue into the intros. So if you guys would introduce yourselves, I'll go to my descriptions here. This is all my stuff that I use to prepare for this. And I've got a couple ones. So this is one recently. I've started saying, like, I'm going to do the LinkedIn. So that's somewhere I'm shifting to in the background. All right, but anyway, my name is Adam Sparks Brechtel, and I've got Friday Flow is something I do for Sparks Flow, which is the company name. Hello, and I lost your name here. Thanks for coming. Hey, Rodney, thank you for coming. So we're just doing intros right now. So my name is Adam Sparks Brechtel, and Sparks Flow is my company that I started a year ago in 2 months. So this is my second year of doing this. And the big thing I like to do is make it so businesses are able to enjoy their team, enjoy their family, and enjoy their ideas more by helping them with the inventory and the systems that they make that happen with. So I'm going to post my information on here, and I won't put Moreimas. I can't get your name right.
It's Moraima, and you can call me Mo for short.
Thank you, Mo. So I won't put you on the spot. I'll let someone else go first. Cody's been here for a while, and he's right next to me on my visual. So you go.
No worries, guys. My name is Cody Pearson, and I'm calling in from Denver. There's my LinkedIn. And really, I'm going back and forth between Albuquerque and Denver. I just ended a position with the technology group at Western Union up here at their headquarters. And I just want to stay connected to the Albuquerque scene, especially during COVID. And I saw Adam, and you're connected to 1 Million Cups and everything that was going on at Fat Pipe. And this was a more casual, open, chatty way to stay connected to people in Albuquerque. So thank you for that, man.
Thanks. Thanks, Cody. And then Phil.
Phil, that's me, Phil Wilton. My company is, and I'm saying is because it still is at the moment, and I might be changing it, Strategic Global Group. So you can see the website. That's been up for, I made that when I was in New York probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm only recently moved, well, I say recently, I've been here a year now, into New Mexico. So my flow got interrupted severely because I had a lot of network connections in New York. But then I do have network connections in San Francisco and in Florida because I've lived in both of those states as well. So getting to New Mexico was somewhat different, shall we say, from San Francisco and New York. And it's taken me a little time to actually get some business networks going over here. Having said that, I'm also a National Science Foundation trained mentor, and I've taken some professors from New York, Rochester, through the I-Corps program.
And you're also helping Annie right now, you said.
Yeah, I know.
Who's been on here before?
Hey, you're interrupting my flow. I'm getting there. And I also helped a couple of other companies. One company that had RFIDs for locking your holster on your gun, and another one which was a group of ladies who were extremely impressive. They were deaf, and they brought to market a clear mask. So, you know, when you have a mask on, if you're deaf, it's very difficult for deaf people to actually see what's being communicated.
Before I forget, do you have a link for that, or?
Yeah, it's called Clear Mask.
I'm looking that up right now.
And
keep going.
I was recently chatting with them, and COVID has actually done them really well. And they've sold over now 2 million masks, and they're going to be going public very shortly. But they came through the National Science Foundation I-Corps product as well. And at the moment, I'm taking Annie Azeri, who runs the Core Community project, where she refurbishes shipping containers into social housing, vertical farms, data centers, and emergency mobile units. And I took her into the National Science Foundation. That's it. Beautiful, isn't it? Look at that. Now, these ladies, I mean, they're just so impressive. They did presentations to 50 other businesses in Washington at the National Science Foundation, all right? And they stood on stage, and they speak very good English. I mean, obviously you can understand that they're deaf, and some of the words are difficult to get out. But I was just so impressed with them. And so I said, if you need any help, I'll help you along. And they've done really well. And you know, this is an interesting story, because when you're going through the I-Corps program, you have to go out and do like a minimum 100 interviews with customers, and to find your customer, because who you think your customer is probably isn't who your customer is. And so, a long story short, they went to the medical market, but you know where they found a unique place for these masks?
Where?
They found a place for these masks in brain surgery in the operating theatre. And why? Does anybody know why?
No.
And I never thought about it. And you've probably seen it on Grey's Anatomy or any of these TV programs.
They use
When
their
you do
teeth.
Huh?
They use their teeth to hold the tools?
No,
Oh.
no. When you're doing brain surgery, whoever's doing the brain surgery, all right, patient is normally conscious. And the only person sitting in the theatre is the nurse or the doctor that's communicating with the patient to make sure that they're still compos mentis.
They're still awake. Okay, yes.
Right? Well, not just awake, but they're actually cognizant of what's going on. Because if you do something wrong up here, it changes immediately. Well, if you've got a mask on, you can't see that, can you? But if you've got a clear mask on, you can. So they found that as a unique place for their product. That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
So where was I? Yeah, so Annie, yeah, I took her into the National Science Foundation. We've been working at it for about 3 months now. And I actually did a little pitch at 1 million cups. And I got 3 or 4 people come to me that were interested in getting some grants. But Annie persisted, and she was the only one that carried on. And we applied to the National Science Foundation, and now she has been invited to put a project in for a $250,000 seed fund grant. And with the $250,000, she doesn't owe any money. She doesn't have to pay it back. And the National Science Foundation doesn't take any equity in her company. So basically, if we get this proposal through, she gets $250,000. And behind that is another $750,000 in the second part. And if we work with other companies, there's another, I think it's another $125,000 behind that. So it's pretty good. It's going well. So my flows there are going well. On my personal side, because of COVID, I've had to kind of cease my networking. And I was doing really well at 1 million cups, picking up different customers. I actually met 3 or 4 of your presenters in 1 million cups afterwards, outside of that venue, and gave them some strategic insight into how to develop their business, and what were their main value points of how they could promote their business. One of them was the lady that did the radio station for the kids. The other one was the guy that did the sports medical for kids. And so there have been 2 or 3 of those that I've spoken to. So while I've been incapacitated in my networking, I've decided to write a book I wanted to write for a long time. I've actually now finished the book, and so this is one Adam can add to his reading agenda.
Oh, great.
But it does still need a bit of work. I want to improve the graphics. And my book is on simple strategic planning. So I'm not going to be a Michael Porter telling you how to implement strategy. My book is telling you how to plan and set up to implement strategy, because most people go into strategy thinking, okay, we just got to have a plan of where we're going to go, and then that's it. And they don't set it up right. And so I figured this would be a good niche to write a book about. And so that's what I've done.
That's great stuff. Thank you, Phil. All right. I minimized my screen to see if I could find Annie. Did we lose? Oh well. All right. So Lisa. Okay, one moment. There's actually someone at my door. You can still talk, but you'd have to take yourself off mute.
Yeah, sorry. I always put myself on mute because I have background noise. So if you hear screaming in the background, don't worry. It's just parrots. My company is Proficient Financial Management. We do, well, I would say we do accounting, but accounting is just a tool that we use to help business owners grow their companies. But essentially that's what we do. We take over the bookkeeping, the payroll, dealing with your customers, vendors, all of that. Consulting for growth, infrastructure, cash flow planning, all of the stuff that you really don't care about because that's not why you got into business. Nobody got into business to do their accounting, including me. I don't do my own books, somebody else does. And we also do taxes. Sorry, I'm running a lot of late nights right now because it is
Busy
tax season. Oddly, at this time of year, yeah, it's very weird to have tax season this late in the year. But at any rate, I will put my information in the chat. We work with all types of companies from one of my newest clients is starting their very first company ever and doesn't even know how to get an EIN, to companies that have been in business 10, 20 years. So we kind of run the gamut. I co-founded this company, so I actually have a special place in my heart for startups because I've been there.
That's great. Thank you. And you're a pleasure to talk with, especially about finances and things. It looks like Rodney actually put his information here on the side for everybody. So if you were looking for Rodney, he's got all this great stuff. He's into media production and stuff, and he's planning to return. So he gave me lots of love by saying that he really enjoys what he's hearing. So great job, guys. That's the idea, build up the community. All right, Mo.
Hi, my name is Moraima Hernandez, and I go by Mo. I actually don't own a business. I'm actually a student, master's in business, and I do want to own a business, but I don't know what I want to do yet. What's been in the back of my mind is holistic healing. I want to open like a whole wellness building that provides different type of modalities of healing. And right now I work also full-time. I work for the government. I work for the U.S. Forest as a staffer. So I help with hiring all those firefighters all over the nation.
Wow.
But I'm also learning how to network, and that's why I'm starting to attend these, so I can kind of hear other people's business ideas or get an idea how they got started. Just like Adam, like what you were saying, like that whole flow. I have challenges, but at the same time, my skills. I feel like I'm bored at my work right now, but
Right.
like I so much, but I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if you want to spend some time with me, I'm happy to talk. We could, so I offer like a half-hour just meet and greet, and we figure out if there's something more. So I'd be happy to meet like that, and just in general, I'm happy to meet. But that's the official like meet and greet stuff too. So I'd love to talk, Mo.
And
Cool.
I'm glad to hear about the whole clear mask because I do have a child that is hard of hearing, so I'm definitely going to order some of those masks because I think it's very beneficial, especially when his way of communicating is signing. So that's something that he'll look forward to. So I'm definitely going to get on that link for the clear masks and order some. I'm
going to jump on that too because I think you have a list of things to go through, and it's great. But about the clear mask, when you said that, I thought of I saw a little clip from the mayor or somebody in town. They were doing an address, and there's a guy standing by the board, and there's all these people walking by with their masks on, but the guy standing by the board didn't have a mask. And I only caught a glimpse of like shortly because I don't know what part of the meeting I caught. It was like preparation or something, and then I moved on. But he did a little sign language, I think. So that mask would make it so he could do both. Because when he was doing the sign language, he was doing the mouth thing, announcing well. So. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I'm definitely going to go on that link for the mask. So.
Yeah, they're impressive. They're just impressive ladies. I mean, they really made an impression on me. Unbelievable.
Well, I'm glad that she jumped on it because you know what? I thought about it for my son. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to get material, but where do I get clear material So that way, when I make him a mask, I was like, they can see him, or we can see each other when it comes to signing, because that's his primary language of communicating. So I was like, and sometimes I have to pull the mask down, or he does, while he's signing, so we can, because he does read other people's lips, and when he doesn't, it's like, I can't read your eyes. Tell me what you're saying.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. They went into it originally just for children, and to remove the anxiety, like when they were going to the dentist or the doctors and things like that, so they could see the doctor to calm them down, as opposed to not seeing the doctor.
Yeah, that's
but they opened up a whole new market.
Some of my clients have talked about the same problem of, like, they're therapists, and they've been doing telehealth, but they said when it switches to in-person, how are they going to balance that? Because that's part of building rapport, is what you're doing with your mouth. And in my own case too, when I show up with people, it's like, well, I'd like to keep the barrier, but also part of my building, trust, because I'm coming to people's homes or their businesses and rearranging things. Like, the mask doesn't build as much trust in that way. It's like divergent, because, like, I care about your health, but you don't get to see my face.
Yeah. Yeah, probably be good for you as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mo, was you finished?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, great. I wasn't sure if there was, like, more stuff there. That's good. So thank you all for coming. This is, again, I'm really built up, because I was telling Mo before everyone else arrived, I was like, I know 2 people had shown up. Lisa, you had, and then there was one other person who'd come last time that signed up. Go ahead.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, no problem. You don't have to tell us either. You just do your thing. So when Mo showed up, I was like, oh, great. Now I've got, more people. And I almost canceled this show because for a while there, I wasn't getting anybody. For a while, I mean, like, there 1 or 2 would show up, and then there was, like, between a couple of them, someone would, there's 2 that I did that had just me talking. But what happened is I put it on Meetup, which made a huge difference, because right after that, it's sort of like, whoop. So this is how I'm feeling the flow, is because I'm seeing the growth, the progress. And the other advantage is if you're not, and I've talked about this before, sometimes you don't feel you don't see so much progress, but you see understanding, like, oh, I need to do that differently. But yeah. So that's one of the cool things about, like, this for me, is that this is a cool thing for flow. I'm building that up. But on the other side too, is I've got a goal of, like, raising a certain amount of money by July 19th, like, through this business, and I'm not reaching that goal. So that's one of those ones where it's like, but because I'm seeing how I'm not quite getting to that point, it also helps me to think, okay, there's something to give me impetus to, like, I need to change something. I need to do something different. And so that's been kind of helpful that way. But, and Phil, you did a great job of explaining how you've experienced flow through all your cool things and feeling how these things go. Cody, you've actually read the book. So did it help you?
States and everything to do with Ikigai and all of that as well, right? So that all was kind of the 2016 period for me. But, I mean, and there's opportunities here too, I think, for the group, just hearing you bring that up, Adam, was, some challenges you're having about getting out there in the market and things like that. Phil's MBA, I have experience with, small, larger size companies and all of this, I think there's space in these chats too, to say, to bring up a business problem and have people kind of solution or ideate, around those things too, for, in this moment for you who have, who has a challenge, and, for others in the future, it's, I think there's space for some good organic problem solving as well as networking with this. But yeah, for flow state, for me, it's a little bit part of that graph, but the big component for me is when I'm stepping out of spoken thought and go into more of the object-based thought is when I really know that I'm in flow. I'm no longer narrating with English or another language what the thought process is when I'm trying to problem solve or do. It's more of abstract thought process. That's when I kind of know I'm in flow. And then, as you guys all know, it's just like meditation. Once you tell yourself you're in flow, once you tell yourself you're meditating, that's the second it breaks.
I'm talking about it, darn.
Yeah, so I mean, flow, meditation, it all has to do the same thing. I don't think meditation is shutting down the brain. Meditation is just that rhythm that we find, just like flow. Yep.
Yeah, they talk about there's a connection like between comedians and piano players, for instance, and there's a different brain pattern they see as the piano players playing Mozart or jazz or jazz may be a questionable one, but like or playing a prepared piece. There's a difference between playing that as to like this sort of like freelancing or composing or creating, and like it just uses a different part of their brain that just makes all these weird random connections. And in humor, we often feel, and you see this especially in small children, they laugh and giggle, especially when they're learning new things, because the connections in their heads are forming new stuff. And so like it's just this weird time of like just like you said, well, kind of like it made me think of your abstract connections and stuff, that you get to be in a different sort of state of mind. It's like heightened, and is really exciting, especially for kids and also for composers, artists, and comedians.
Yeah, psychedelics spark the same thing.
But they have to shut off part of their rationality, like especially to do some of that. Yep. It's weird.
Absolutely. That's the creative. That's I mean, that's kind of the missing gap in the business world, because we have such linear thinking and objective thinking, where we need to put that, we need, the sweet spot, with successful people, especially in business, are those who can be a little bit more creative in their thought process and also have that emotional warmness to lead people as well.
Yeah. You're
That's
speaking to my heart. It's great. I'm loving to hear it. That's great. Thank you, Cody. Yeah. So, Mo, you're falling into the ocean. That was great. All right.
That's
Mo,
get lost in the ocean. So,
Mo, that's one of my most favorite places in the world.
San Francisco or the ocean?
Yeah. Well, both, yeah, but San Francisco. No, I lived there for 13 years. So,
I've only been twice, and I do love it. I do love it.
Yeah, I had a house in Sonoma County, in the wine district, and yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
So, Phil,
what's the draw?
What, San Francisco?
No, for Albuquerque. What's the draw to bring you to Albuquerque?
It's called a trailing spouse.
Okay.
So my wife, actually, I met my wife I was in the semiconductor business which is why I was in San Francisco.
Okay.
For probably 3 decades, and I started in Europe with applied materials and running Northern Europe, and then I moved to Germany and became general manager of Europe. And then they had a spot open in the US for a sales manager. So I thought I'd try that. So I came to the US, and then I transitioned from sales back to operations and took over global operations. So I traveled around the world 2 or 3 times. And it was really interesting, which is why, I'm kind of in this strategy mode thing, because when you've worked for so long and traveled to so many different cultures, and you've seen so many different companies, you know, you can see where I can maybe help other people in understanding the basics of how to get things sorted out, or a nice flow, as Adam would say, within their organisation. And the National Science Foundation just kind of fell on the back of that, because they're interested in risky technology. They're interested in things that are not really secure. So you've got a government agency that's prepared to hand out millions and millions of dollars to very insecure, risky businesses. All right. So they're quite open to, if you have a technology and you want to use that technology in something else.
Yep.
So I'll give you an example. The professor that I took through ICOR from New York was a music professor, and he had an idea, and he actually had a proof of concept of it, that he could use music, which is basically math, to help disseminate big data. All right, because most people try to analyze big data visually, right?
Yeah, there's definitely, the AI takes a different approach than a human. Yeah.
And so he had this. He worked with NASA, the European, actually NASA and the European Space Agency on that. You know that probe they sent out that landed on a comet? And bound? Yeah. And so he took all that data from the European Space Agency and used his knowledge of music to help disseminate that data down into different parts, so it was more easily readable. And so what we were putting together was with the National Science Foundation was a project where now you don't just have visual looking at your data, you have sound, all right? So now you're using your ears as well as your eyes to disseminate data. But the difference being is with your eyes, it's only in kind of a mono mode. When you're using your hearing, you have spatial, because you can go left, right, up, down, front, back. And when you've got headphones on and you're going stereo, you know it. You can feel it in your head. And so that was risky for, you know, so we got $50,000 on the ICOL program to go and say, you know, we have this product, and they said, yes, you can have $50,000, go and find your market. And so we approached the financial market of all things, Lisa. Okay, and we spoke to people like you. We spoke to 120 different people, from front-end consumer, people like yourself, Lisa, through every stage of the financial chain back to Wall Street. We even went down to Wall Street and interviewed people in Wall Street. And we found our customers as being the step past Wall Street, which were the big hedge fund managers, the guys that run those multi-million-dollar places. Yeah, and that's where they said they were interested in this technology. So everybody else in that financial chain, from the front end, you know, when you walk into your high street financial people down to Wall Street, all couldn't do it, because mostly they had prefixed software programs from companies, you know, like Fidelity, you know, they have set software programs for all their different funds and how they manage them and how they run them. But when you get down to these people that I don't know if they're the top 1% in the financial industry, but they're the people that do all these different kind of things. They were the people that were interested in that technology. So it's pretty good. I mean, it's good that you got this big federal grant out in across the whole of the US, and they're prepared to go into risky technology. So if you know anybody that's got something that's risky, then throw them my way and we can get them some grant funding.
You know where I think that would be cool is, maybe we should take it offline, but the larger institutions like that have bolt-on black boxes, AI, devoted business intelligence things, but something like that tool, taking data, abstract data, making an audio experience, could be something where Instagram or Twitter could pivot analytics and deliver it as just a value add to their influencers, put a musical layer on it, and now you have this weird, the social experience of social media is very visual. But wow, if you could break that wall between social and Insta and Twitter, and over here on Spotify, and meld those two, and what you're actually delivering is the delightful data analytics experience.
Hopefully it's delightful.
There may be some there if you're still connected to those people.
Yeah, I am. So it can be delightful, because at one point we were talking about when we was trying to develop the POC, the proof of concept, was giving the end user the choice. I mean, if you like classical music, then we would position the product with classical music. If you like rock, then you'd have rock. If you like blues, you could have blues. So you weren't stuck with some tunes that you may not. I guess if you're like me, I have a genre of music I really like. I like a lot of blues music, but lately I'm switching a lot to classical. But just hearing it makes me calm, cool, and I feel good about things when it's going. So if you did that with, if you have, a whole bunch of big data that you've got to get through, and you've got these alerts, alarms, inputs in a in a tone that acceptable to your brain, then I guess it makes it a lot easier.
Well, thanks, Cody. That is really cool, and I hope you guys do continue the conversation. I also think of Richard when you're talking about AI, the one of the things I want to point out is that what you're talking about there is that with the National Science Foundation, is that they like the high challenge groups. Like it's a risky business, so it's a high challenge to make it successful. And then, so they must have lots of skill, which is another reason why you like it, right? You've got high-end skill and thinking capacities and networking and like putting the connections together, and it's high-end. So it's like, that's when you're getting into flow. It's like, anything below there, you're sort of like, when you first came to Albuquerque, there wasn't enough engagement. And so you were feeling bored, or like maybe something up in the way of anxiety, because it seemed like a challenge, but it also wasn't engaging. So it was like both ends of it, which leads me to ask Mo. So Mo, what are some things that you feel like you've got at Flow, and where you feel like you've got making progress, your skills? And maybe a better way to ask this would be, when do you feel like a sense of timelessness? What kind of things are you doing? Because this could also help you figure out what you want to do for your business, which I probably shouldn't have mentioned before I said this, but go ahead.
I don't know. I mean, I guess that's the challenge, is because I feel like all my skills are on this side and my challenges, but I can't seem to connect any of them to know, like, okay, I guess I really have to write down what I'm good at, what I really want to do, what I'm passionate about. I mean, I've discussed, right now, because we're taking that entrepreneur class, and it talks about, what's one challenge that you have in life that you want to put out there as a business. And I think about just, for me, because I'm a single parent, is catering to single parents that need help with transportation services.
Right.
For children. So, I thought about that one, and how I can actually put it down on paper, and what the cost will be, and about even the marketing, how
Yeah.
I'm going to, if I can reach out to single parents, that the ones that are stay-home moms and don't really have a job, but they already take their kids to school. How can they in to be part of that, part of it?
Or the daycares that already have a network there that you could tap into and say, would this be useful to some of your parents, or something like that? That's really cool. And so that's cool, because you've got something that you're passionate about. You have your why, what you're looking for, which is important. The weird thing about flow is that it doesn't always connect with morality. All right, you can feel like you're in the flow about things that aren't great, but I haven't quite made the connection of how much it connects with purposefulness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is one thing, and I think that's really important to continue the passion. And so I'm going to push you another way, and you may not have an answer for this, so I'm going to give you a tool that I found out about through another book, which is, so times when you feel really engaged. So you might see these challenges, but like, for instance, trafficking, child trafficking, that kind of stuff, the human trafficking. That's, hitting a spike right now because of some of the stuff that's being shut down. But then trying to balance that with, the health of other people, like which one, how do we balance those two problems out? And that's a big challenge. It creates a lot of anxiety, but it's a worthy cause, right? So those are huge things. But if we're finding solutions for them, that's when we're going to feel like we're really engaging and we're really alive. So a tool that I'd like you to think about is, it's in the book called Drive, by Daniel Pink. And he talks about flow and refers to Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi in this all the time. And one of the things, he uses one of Mihaly's tests that he did, and he kind of puts it forth to us to kind of try it on ourselves to find when we really feel like we're in flow. And there was something about setting up a random timer, or just randomly throughout the day, writing down what you're doing, how you're feeling about it. And of course, he can describe it better, but just kind of describing that will help you figure out some things that really put you in a good place. And what would be really cool is if you could connect whatever you see as something that really, like, you're feeling timelessness, you're feeling progress, you're feeling rejuvenated afterwards. You're doing those and seeing how those can connect to this big problem you have, or might be a small problem, depending on how you look at it. But I think it's a serious one, is like traveling children when they're have single parents, and how do we make that work? So, yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's cool. Lisa, we have just a touch of time here left, but I want to hear what are some things that you really feel. Actually, I'm going to address it to what you're talking about now. Tax season is really big right now. You say that you're not getting a lot of sleep and stuff. And so that kind of can be in that big challenge area, but maybe the reason you're doing it is because you're also feeling in flow. What do you feel like in that? Where do you feel like you're on that spectrum?
So our flow has been completely interrupted this year. So we always have systems in place to deal with, the busy times of year for us, and whatnot. But with tax season happening months later, it's completely interrupted our normal flow and our normal planning structure.
Yeah.
And being that it's already June, we basically had like just a really long tax season. Honestly, we're all just kind of burned out. We're ready for tax season. We've always worked from home.
Yeah.
We're a virtual company. We've always worked from home. So being home all the time hasn't really affected everybody the way it has, but we're kind of like joking in the office that this is our version of quarantine, is the eternal tax season, because as soon as this ends in about a month, we don't get much of a break before the extensions come in. So normally it's not this insane at this time of year.
Yeah.
And of course our staffing is different just because of timing. In general, we have a lot of policies, procedures implemented. I mean, it's not like one of those crazy sweatshop kind of accounting firms.
Oh, good.
We're actually very laid back. We're literally make your own hours. We don't even have core hours. So some of my people work in the middle of the night and we talk over Slack. But we're very organized. We have to be to meet deadlines. So our flow is documented, and that allows our person-to-person workflows to be much more informal, because there's a reference point and you know what you're doing because everything is the same. You know, as far as, you know, when are things due, there's not really a lot of confusion. Everyone kind of has an idea of where they stand. So flow is very important for us. And even more important for our clients, because if we can't get our clients to, and this is kind of our big thing, is with what we do, if our clients aren't giving us the documents that we need, doing the things that they need to do in order for us to do our job, then the whole process breaks down. So one of the things that we do, and this is something that you and I have talked about in much more depth offline, one of the things that we do is we entirely recreate their accounting workflow to be something that's intuitive for them. So we don't require them to use an approach that we've created for everybody, because everybody's different, everybody thinks differently, everybody works differently. You mentioned you have dyscalculia, so obviously you know, something that's going to work for one of my clients who actually maybe has training in accounting but is not running an accounting firm. And I have some clients like that. You know, I actually had one client who used to be an IRS agent. So, you know, she knew what she needed to do with the taxes, but she didn't care. She just dumped literally every receipt she had for every purchase during the year on my desk every tax season. Because she knew what she needed to provide, but you know, but her flow was no longer, let's get this organized. She didn't care anymore. She was like, I'm done with that. I retired. So one of the things that we do is actually go in and help them create their entire accounting workflow to be something that works for them, but it's not an overnight process. Like, we can't just go in to a brand new company and be like, hey, yeah, you're doing everything wrong, unless it's compliance. Because if they're doing something that's going to get them in trouble with the taxing authority, we have to stop them right then and there and be like, no. Like charging for sales tax without having a sales tax permit in Texas is a big no-no. Here you just have to register. It's a little bit different. But anyway, so it's not an overnight process. I have a company right now. We've been working with them for 2 years. They actually have an internal accounting department. So we're their external department, but they also have an internal department that we help oversee. And it's a very slow process because there's so many people there that, you know, we implement one part of a workflow and then they get used to that. And then management comes back to me and they say, you know, hey, we're looking, like, this COVID pandemic has really thrown a wrench in what they do, because they're wholesalers of paper goods like toilet paper, disinfectant wipes, things like that. So it's completely disrupted their workflow, and we've had to help them recreate that. But the things that we've implemented are things that are not just a response to COVID. They're things that are going to make their workflow simpler in the long term. So,
Yeah. And this is something we connected over because that was what you're saying. It's like a cool thing.
yes.
I'm gonna.
So, yeah, flow is actually a big part of what we do and how I run my company.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crucial, I think, in getting your company to be,
Yeah.
is effective the right word?
And that's what you do is you've made these companies so that they can actually get their finances done, so they can focus on the part they really enjoy. I'm gonna wrap you up a little bit, because I gotta wrap up the rest of the show here. But that's one of the things I appreciate about what you do is you even talk about you focus on and not just throwing some preset plan on people, but you kind of listen to what they've got going on. You try to work around and you try to build off the skills they have to meet the challenges that they need to meet with government taxes and other things like that. So it's really great.
Just a quickie. Going back on my book on strategy, it just dawned on me as Lisa was talking. I have a bit in my book about workflows and processes.
Good.
Because every company survives on workflows and processes. Every company.
Yeah. It's great. And that's why they can, hire people like Lisa, myself, and Cody, because we like to work on those sort of things. So and I guess you do too, Phil. Who doesn't, right?
No, I mean, Phil's totally right though. Like I think a company is going to live and die on its processes.
Yeah, totally.
Exactly.
That and passion, passion apparently goes away. It's meaningfulness. So other things are going on. This is the last time Friday, Activate New Mexico is going to have a Friday thing. So they're an easy go-to that I mentioned about other events that are happening in the area. And then this is all virtual. Things I'm talking about are all virtual. So Activate New Mexico has got a virtual thing you could go to. I put a link in the chat and then I post a couple things after it. So it's a little higher in the chat. But that's every Friday. And so if it's on YouTube, it'll be on that link, but that might be expired anyway, so it might not matter. You can see what else they have maybe going on if you're watching it on YouTube at some point. And then 1 Million Cups is every week on Wednesdays, except for, of course, some random holidays. So that's coming up next week. And funny connection is this next week, they're going to have Activate New Mexico. So Activate New Mexico has this Stay Connected thing on Fridays. It's sort of keeping people connected. But then they also have this like boot camp where there's companies that are starting out and stuff. And Cody, you've been in contact with these people, haven't you?
For what?
Any of the Activate New Mexico folks?
Well, I mean, they're all kind of the same people. And, I always go back to Innovate IBQ is like really like the big thing. Like Innovate ABQ is not Innovate ABQ, right? Awesome Fat Pipe is my go-to. That is the hub of Albuquerque by their vision, by their mission. So, yep.
Because they're doing a lot of company rearranging and like creating and stuff right now. And that's what they do. So these companies that are going to be startups, Lisa, are going to be presenting next week at 1 Million Cups. And they're going to be presenting their pitches that they'll be giving to venture capitalists or whatever as well. But we're going to get to see a bit of it. And so it'll be a different setup than the usual 1 Million Cups this time. But it's going to be kind of cool to hear those. And then
that'll be interesting for me. Yeah,
Phil. And then Network After Work is something I did this last week, and I did 2 weeks before that. And it's it's a totally different feel. It's kind of like a mix between this and power dating. Okay. Yeah, almost. But it's on Zoom, I think. Yeah, it's on this kind of platform. And she sends us into breakout rooms. And the funny thing is you go to this is on Meetup, the link I gave, and then it sends you to Eventbrite, which sends you, it's not just Albuquerque, it's like the whole nation. And so I'm not quite sure how that all works, but that's there. And you get to the thing I really got from this is what you're getting right now too, is learning how to like network and like give out the information people want, and then also ask for your company. Like I put out the thing of like, I have a free half-hour session of just meet and greet to see if I'm a good fit, to see where you can go. But also just like, I'd like to hear about your business and see how that's growing and learn from your situation. So I'm learning that stuff by going to this network afterward, because it's just dun, 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 dun. And then sometimes we still have a little extra time when we're in these breakout rooms and we chat about other random stuff. And a few times there's dead silence. But if I'm in the room, that ends quickly. So those are some events. I've got them posted. And so please join us next week. Invite people you think would enjoy talking about how to organize their business. And I really enjoy you. And I hope you keep the sparks flowing.